Hello everyone, welcome to DevWave Diaries. If you're passionate about tech and eager to learn, you've come to the right place. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to create this amazing scrolling animated website, adding a dynamic touch to your web projects. Let's dive in. If this video gets 50 likes, I'll share the full source code of this amazing scrolling website. So don't forget to hit the like button and help us reach that goal. First, in the HTML file, you'll notice I've already included a few important links and script tags. At the top, we've added the Remix Icon CDN for icons. Below that, we've linked the GSAP CDN and the ScrollTrigger plugin from GSAP. These will help us create smooth and advanced animations on our website. This is the Remix Icon GitHub link. I'll add this link in the description of this video. Now, scroll down a little bit and you'll find the CDN. You need to copy the CDN and paste it after the normal link tag in your HTML page. Now, for the script tags, you need to visit the CDN.js website and search for GSAP. This is the CDN.js website. Here, copy the first script tag, which is gsap.min.js. Then, scroll down a little bit and you'll find scrolltrigger.min.js, copy that as well. Add both of them before your normal script tag. Now we are ready to start. First, let's create a div with the class name, page1. Inside it, create a nav tag. Then inside the nav, create an anchor tag. Inside this anchor tag, add a div with the ID logo. Inside the logo div, add an image tag and set its source attribute to logo.png. I will share all the image links through a GitHub link. For this website, we need a few images to complete the design. You'll find all of them linked in the description of this video. After that, create an h3 tag and write any name you want to use for your website. Now, outside the anchor tag, create a div with the class name navigation. Inside it, create an anchor tag and write home inside it. Then, copy and paste this line 3 more times using Alt+Shift+down arrow. After that, change the text in each tag to about, contact, and order. Now let's create the main layout of our website. Start by creating a div with the class name main. Inside this main div, create 2 more divs, one with the class name left and the other with the class name right. Next, inside the left div, create an h1 tag and write any heading you like. After that, create a paragraph tag and write any text you want, or you can simply add some lorem ipsum text as placeholder content. Then, create another div with the class name btn, and inside it, add a button element with the text Get Started. Now let's create another div with the class name ImageBox. Inside it, add an image tag. Then, create a style attribute on the image tag and define a CSS variable, LFT, and set its value to 0 rem. After that, copy this image tag 4 more times using Alt+Shift+down arrow key. Now, update the LFT values for each image to 2 rem, 4 rem, 6 rem, and 8 rem respectively. Next, we need to add image links inside the src attribute of each image. You can use any person images you like. So just hold on for a moment while I add all the image links. Now, as you can see, I've already added all the image links into the src attribute of each image tag. This is the first image link, here's the second one, and so on. Each image link is now in place. Don't worry, I'll share all of these image links through my GitHub link. Open the browser, and you'll see that all the images and the logo we added are currently appearing in a messy layout, but don't worry, we'll fix everything and style them properly using CSS very soon. Next, create a paragraph tag and inside it, You can either write your own custom text, like the one I'm using, or simply generate some placeholder text using lorem ipsum. Now let's move on and add elements inside the right div. Inside the right div, create an image tag and give it an ID of card. Then, in its src attribute, add the image link for the platinum card. This is the card image that we've added inside the right div. Now that's all the HTML code we need for the first page. Next, let's move on to the CSS to start styling this page and bring our layout to life. In the CSS file, you'll notice I've already included some essential boilerplate code and base styles. This includes setting margin 0 and padding 0 to remove the default spacing that browsers typically apply to elements. The box sizing, border box rule ensures that padding and borders are included within an element's total width and height. Lastly, I've set font family sans serif to apply a clean and modern typeface across the entire website. After the boilerplate, I applied some base styles to the HTML and body elements. I set the width to 100% so the layout spans the full width of the browser window, and used minHeight 100 VH to ensure the page takes up at least the full height of the viewport. For the background, I chose a dark shade #292b2f to give the website a sleek and modern look, and set the color to #B6 for the text, which contrasts well against the dark background, making it more readable and visually appealing. Now let's move on to styling the nav tag. I've set its position to relative to allow for positioning child elements if needed. The height is set to 5 rem to give it a consistent vertical space. We're using display flex to arrange the navigation items in a row, and with justify content space between, we push the logo and menu items to opposite ends. Align items center ensures that all items are vertically centered within the nav bar. Finally, padding 0.8 rem 0.8 rem gives some horizontal breathing room on both sides, creating a balanced layout. Next, let's style the div with the ID logo. I've set display flex so that the logo image and text sit side by side. Using align items, center vertically centers both elements within the div, and gap 0.5 rem adds a small space between the image and the text. After that, let's style the image tag inside the logo div. I've set its width to 4 rem to ensure the logo image scales to a consistent and appropriate size, keeping the navigation bar clean and visually appealing. Next, select the H3 tag inside the logo div and apply text transform, uppercase. This will convert all the letters to uppercase, giving the logo text a bold and professional appearance. Now let's style the navigation div. Set its display to flex, add a gap of 3 rem to space out the anchor links evenly, and set the font size to 1.1 rem for a clean and readable layout. Next, select the anchor tag and apply the following styles. Set text decoration to none to remove the underline, and color to #B6 to match the overall theme of the website. Open the browser and you'll see that the navigation bar now looks great, it's neatly aligned, the logo stands out, and the links have a clean, modern appearance. Now let's move on and style the page 1 div. First, set its position to relative so we can absolutely position elements inside it if needed. Then, set the width to 100% so it stretches across the full screen. After that, give it a height of 100 VH to cover the full height of the viewport. And finally, set the text color to #B6 so that the text stands out clearly against the dark background. After that, select the div with the class name main and set its height using the calc function. The value should be calc 100 VH-5 rem, so that it fills the remaining space below the navigation bar. After that, apply display flex to arrange its child elements side by side horizontally. Next, select the image box div and set its position to relative. Then apply display flex so that all the images inside it align in a row. Also, set its height to 3 rem to keep the image container compact in size. After that, select the image tags inside the image box div. Set their position to absolute so they can be positioned on top of each other. Then give each image a fixed width and height of 3 rem to keep them square. Make them circular by applying border radius of 50%, add a white border with 3 pixels solid white. And finally, set the left position using the custom CSS variable, LFT, that we defined earlier. Next, add ObjectFit cover to these image tags. This will make sure the images fill their containers completely without getting stretched or distorted. Open the browser. You should now see the images stacked on top of each other, creating a beautiful representation of the person images. Next, we will apply styles to both the left and right divs inside the main div. For these divs, we set the width to 50%, so each will take up half of the available width in the container. We then use display flex to enable Flexbox layout. Then set flex direction column. The content inside each div will be stacked vertically. We also apply justify content center to vertically center the content inside these divs. The gap 1 rem adds some space between the child elements inside these divs. Finally, we add padding 2 rem 2 rem 2 rem 8 rem, which applies padding of 2 rem to the top, right, and bottom, while giving the left side an 8 rem padding to create more space. Now, let's add some style to the right div inside the main div. We will add padding to create some space around its content. We set the padding as 2 rem 8 rem 2 rem 2 rem. Next, let's style the h1 tag inside the left div. We set the position to relative, which allows for easy adjustments in layout. The font size is set to 4 rem to make the heading stand out, ensuring it's large and easily visible. We also set the font weight to 500, making it bold enough to catch attention without being overwhelming. Lastly, the width is set to 90%, providing a neat space around the heading, giving it a more balanced and centered look within the div. After that, select the P tag inside the left div. Set its position to relative so it can be positioned more flexibly if needed. Then, set the width to 90% to make sure the paragraph doesn't stretch too far and maintains a clean and readable layout within the left section. Now let's style the image tag inside the right div. Set its position to absolute so that it can be freely placed over other elements if needed. Then set its width to 30 rem to give it a decent size on the screen. Finally, set its z-index to 10 to make sure it appears on top of other elements that might overlap. Next, let's select all the button elements and style them. Set their position to relative so we can control their placement if needed. Add a pointer cursor to indicate it's clickable. Then remove the default border by setting it to none, and finally set the background color to #B6 to match the overall design theme. Open the browser and you'll notice that the button now has a white background, and when you hover over it, the cursor changes to a pointer, indicating it's interactive. This gives the button a clean and clickable appearance. Now let's style the button that's inside the btn div. Set its padding to 1 rem from top and bottom and 2 rem from left and right. Then change the text color to black, add a border radius of 5 pixels to make the corners slightly rounded, and set the font size to 1 rem for better readability. Open the browser and you'll see that the button is now styled properly with the padding, color, and rounded corners applied. And that's it, we've completed all the styling for the first page. Now we have completed our first page, let's move on and create the second page of our website. First, create a div with the class name page2. Inside this div, create an h1 tag and write any heading you like, or you can use the one I'll be adding. After that, create 3 p tags, and inside each of them, write some text. It can be any content you want, or you can simply use some lorem text for now. Next, let's create a div with the class name container. Inside this container, create another div with the class name innerbox. Now, within the innerbox, create a div with the class name box1. After creating this box1 div, add a style attribute to it and define a CSS variable called opa and set its value to 0.2. Now inside the box1 div, we need to add a logo and some text. For the logo, visit the Remix Icon website. I'll be sharing the link to this site in the description of this video. Once you're on the site, search for Visa in the search bar. After that, select the first logo that appears in the results. Then simply copy that logo and paste it into your HTML code inside the box 1 div. After that, create an h3 tag inside the box 1 div and write the text Premium. Now, to quickly duplicate this structure, select the entire box 1 div and copy it. Then press Alt plus Shift plus down arrow 6 times to paste it multiple times. Next, edit the CSS variable, OPA for each of the box 1 divs. Start by keeping the first one at 0.2, then update the next ones as follows. Set the second to 0.5, the third to 0.75, the fourth to 1, the fifth back to 0.75, the sixth to 0.5, and leave the rest at 0.2. This variation will create a center-focused highlight effect using opacity. After that, we need to change some icons because currently all the icons inside the box 1 divs are the same. So, open the Remix Icon website again. This time, search for the word card. Now scroll down a little until you find a different icon that suits your design. Once you find the icon you like, copy its HTML code and paste it inside the third box 1 div, replacing the previous icon. This way, each box can have a unique feel or represent a different feature visually. Similarly, change the icons in the remaining box 1 divs as you like. You can explore different icon categories on the Remix Icon website. Open the browser and you'll see that all the icons and text are now successfully added to our website. This is all the HTML code we needed for the second page of our website. Now let's move on to the CSS portion, where we'll style everything we've just created. We'll make sure the layout looks clean, visually appealing, and consistent with the design of our first page. First, go to the Style section where we previously added styles for the page 1 div. Now, simply write .page 2 next to .page 1 using a comma to separate them. This way, the same styles applied to the first page will also be shared with the second page. It helps keep both sections consistent in layout and appearance without repeating the same code. Next, let's continue styling the .page 2 div. Set the padding to 4 rem5 rem4 rem5 rem, which gives it space on all sides. Use display, flex and set the flex direction to column so that all elements stack vertically. Then use align items, center to center everything horizontally and text align, center to center the text. Lastly, add gap 0.5 rem to create a small space between the elements. This makes the section look clean, balanced, and easier to read. After that, let's move on to styling the h1 tag inside the .page 2 div. Set its font size to 3 rem so that it stands out as the main heading of this section. Then give it a font weight of 500 to make the text slightly bold, but not too heavy, keeping it elegant and visually balanced within the layout. Now let's style the container div to give it a clean and structured layout. Set its position to relative so that we can position any absolutely placed elements inside it later if needed. Set its width to 90% so it doesn't stretch across the entire screen. Then add overflow, hidden to make sure that any extra content doesn't spill out visually. Use display, flex, and center everything inside it using justify content, center and align items, center. This will align the child elements both horizontally and vertically. Finally, set the height to 30 rem to give it enough space to hold multiple boxes comfortably within this section. Next, let's move on to styling the inner box div. Set its position to absolute so it can be freely placed within the container div without affecting the flow of surrounding elements. Assign a width of 100 vh, which ensures the width is equal to the full height of the viewport. Apply display, flex so that all child boxes inside inner box are aligned in a row. Add gap, 1 rem to maintain a consistent space between each box. Lastly, use overflow, hidden to make sure that any overflowing content doesn't appear outside the container, keeping everything tidy. Here I made a small mistake, the width should actually be 100 viewport width. Earlier, I mistakenly wrote 100 vh, which stands for viewport height. Let me quickly fix that now. After that, let's move on to styling the box 1 divs inside our page 2 section. We'll begin by setting the width to 14 rem and the height to 6 rem, giving each box a consistent size. For the background, we'll use a dark shade with the color code #54535C. We'll display the content using Flex Layout, and to make sure everything stays centered, we'll set both Justify Content and Align Items to center. We'll also add a gap of 1 rem between the icon and the text inside each box. Finally, for the opacity, we'll use a CSS variable by writing var and passing in _opa. This variable was already defined in our HTML to give each box a different transparency effect. Now open the browser, and you'll see all the box 1 divs are looking just the way we wanted. Each of them is perfectly sized and spaced, and the opacity effect we added using the CSS variable is working beautifully. Next, let's increase the size of the icons inside the box 1 div. To do this, select the icons using the .box1i and set their font size to 3 rem. This change will make the icons larger and more noticeable on the page. Open the browser and you'll see that the icon sizes are now perfect, and the overall page looks great. That's all for this part of the video. In the next part, we'll continue building more. If you've watched till now, drop a comment below. And if you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful, please give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated with all our latest content. Your support really helps us create more exciting and valuable videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of DevWave Diaries.